Julie de Azevedo Hanks' The Assertiveness Guide for Women is a warm, compassionate, and practical book written specifically to help women reclaim their voices in a world that often encourages silence, compliance, or self-sacrifice. Rather than simply offering a set of communication tricks, Hanks tells a broader story about how women are shaped by cultural, family, and personal narratives that encourage them to put others first. She frames assertiveness not as a personality trait some women have and others don't, but as a skill that can be learned, practiced, and woven into every aspect of life. The book begins with a story that feels instantly familiar, a woman overwhelmed by requests from coworkers, children, and friends, saying yes to everyone until she feels drained, resentful, and invisible. Hanks uses this example to highlight the real cost of self-silencing, burnout, anxiety, and broken relationships. Her storytelling reminds readers that a lack of assertiveness is not just inconvenient, it is painful. By showing the toll it takes on health and joy, she makes a compelling case for change. Hanks introduces her framework through the idea of connection. She explains that healthy assertiveness doesn't come from being louder or tougher, but from being more connected to one's emotions, one's thoughts, and one's body. In the book, she describes women who have lost touch with these inner signals because they've been trained to prioritize others. Through stories of therapy clients and composite characters, she shows how rediscovering feelings and needs becomes the foundation for assertive communication. Much of the book revolves around 5 connection domains: to self, to others, to body, to feelings, and to values. Hanks illustrates each domain with vivid anecdotes. For instance, a woman raised to ignore her hunger cues later finds herself disconnected from her physical boundaries in relationships. Another woman, taught to never contradict authority, loses her ability to speak up at work. By walking through these examples, Hanks makes abstract concepts tangible, helping readers see their own lives mirrored in the characters. One of the most compelling parts of the book is her exploration of women's shoulds. Hanks describes how women carry endless lists of expectations: a good mother should always be available, a good wife should not complain, a good employee should not make waves. She tells stories of women crushed by these invisible scripts, until they learn to question them. Through these narratives, Hanks gives permission to dismantle harmful shoulds and replace them with chosen values. A recurring theme is the importance of emotional awareness. Hanks tells stories of women who suppress anger until it bursts out in destructive ways, or who avoid sadness because they've been taught to appear cheerful. She shows how learning to identify emotions in real time, naming them, honoring them, and expressing them directly, changes relationships dramatically. In one dialogue, a woman who used to seethe in silence calmly tells her partner, "I feel angry when you dismiss my ideas." This small moment illustrates how naming emotions without apology opens the door to genuine connection. Hanks also highlights the traps of guilt and fear, themes that echo Manuel J. Smith's work but are filtered through the specific lens of women's lives. In her stories, a daughter feels guilty saying no to her aging parents, or a professional fears she will be called selfish if she declines extra work. Instead of telling readers to ignore these feelings, Hanks shows how to work through them with self-compassion, reframing guilt as a signal that old conditioning is being challenged rather than as proof of wrongdoing. The book doesn't shy away from the cultural and systemic forces that make assertiveness harder for women. Through stories of women dismissed as bossy or too emotional, Hanks shows how gender norms still penalize women who speak up. But she also demonstrates how small, steady acts of assertion create ripples of change. A woman who asks for a raise may inspire others. A mother who models healthy boundaries may give her daughter a gift of confidence. Her storytelling makes it clear that personal assertiveness has collective power. Practical dialogue examples run throughout the book, showing how an assertive response might sound in everyday life. A woman declining an invitation without over-explaining, a manager setting a boundary with a needy employee, a partner saying, "I need time alone tonight," without guilt. These scripts are brief but impactful. Hanks' characters make mistakes, stumble, and recover, which reassures readers that assertiveness is not about perfection but about progress. Hanks continually returns to the idea that true assertiveness is anchored in values. In one story, a woman who thought she had to choose between being nice and being honest learns that her deeper value is authenticity, and that kindness without honesty isn't real kindness. This story becomes a turning point, showing that when women are grounded in their values, their communication becomes both clearer and stronger. The book also explores the body as a crucial source of wisdom. Hanks describes women who experience tight chests, clenched jaws, or exhaustion when they are being inauthentic. She shows how paying attention to these signals can guide assertive choices. For example, one character notices her shoulders tightening whenever she says yes reluctantly, and this awareness helps her begin practicing no without apology. These embodied stories add a layer of depth that goes beyond words. Humor and compassion run through Hank's storytelling. She describes women who laugh at their first awkward attempts to say no, and she shares her own struggles with overcommitting. These moments make the book relatable and gentle, reminding readers that assertiveness is not about becoming invulnerable but about being more human. The warmth in the narratives keeps the lessons from feeling harsh or prescriptive. As the book unfolds, Hanks emphasizes that assertiveness builds healthier relationships, not weaker ones. She shares stories of couples who learn to argue without contempt, friends who grow closer after setting boundaries, and workplaces that improve when women stop hiding their needs. These examples counter the fear that saying no will mean rejection, showing instead that honesty often strengthens bonds. By the end, Hank's message is clear: assertiveness is not selfishness, it is self-respect. Her storytelling arc carries readers from a place of exhaustion and self-doubt to one of empowerment and calm strength. Each narrative thread weaves together into a larger vision of women who speak clearly, honor their own needs, and build connections based on authenticity rather than obligation. The final chapters leave the reader with a sense of possibility. Hanks invites women to imagine a life where their yes is wholehearted, their no is guilt-free, and their voice is steady even in difficult moments. Through the stories she shares, the book becomes not just a guide but a companion, a gentle reminder that assertiveness is a skill worth practicing every day, and that every woman can learn to claim her own voice.